Vrith floated silently in the observation chamber of the orbital research station. The station itself was a marvel of alien engineering, sleek, silver walls that shimmered under the faint light of distant stars, tubes of glowing energy running along every corridor, and floating panels displaying endless streams of data in colors only his species could perceive. From here, Vrith could watch the universe, and for the past century his assignment was simple: observe the humans. He had never met one in person. In the academy, humans were described as primitive, volatile, and illogical. They were supposed to be fascinating specimens, creatures who had barely left their own solar system yet somehow survived. Vrith had imagined them as fragile, easily frightened beings, a species to observe, note down, and report back. Nothing more. Today, however, would be different. Vrith, the station's command interface hummed in his mind. A new mission update has arrived. You are to travel to the human colony on Nerva 3 for closer observation. Direct contact is authorized if necessary. Exercise caution. Vrith's three eyes blinked in sequence. Direct contact? That was unusual. Normally, observation was passive, conducted from a safe distance. The humans were considered harmless. The Federation had assumed that no human could pose a challenge to a fully equipped alien observer. And yet here he was, being sent to the surface. He drifted toward the docking bay. Outside, the galaxy stretched endlessly, a carpet of stars against the dark void. He felt a strange excitement, a feeling he rarely experienced in decades of research. Perhaps it was curiosity, or perhaps it was the thrill of leaving the safety of the station. Either way, he knew one thing: nothing in his training could fully prepare him for what awaited on Nerva 3. The shuttle that would carry him to the planet was compact but sturdy. It was designed for short-term planetary landings, equipped with minimal life support systems and emergency shielding. Vrith entered its cockpit, his elongated fingers adjusting the controls automatically. With a soft hum, the engines powered up and the shuttle detached from the station. As the shuttle sped toward Nerva 3, Vrith reviewed the data files sent by the station. Humans on Nerva 3 numbered around 2.5 million. Their technology was modest, far behind the Federation's standards, but functional. Colonies were built to withstand environmental hazards, and humans were skilled in repair and improvisation. Yet the reports emphasized their fragility. Fragility. Vrith repeated the word in his mind. It made him smirk, a gesture humans might call amusement. Fragile, yes. But why, he wondered, did they survive at all? Survival implied strength somewhere, though it remained unclear where that strength came from. The shuttle entered Nerva 3's atmosphere with a fiery hiss, friction turning the air around it into glowing plasma. Vrith's heart, or the organ in his species closest to a heart, beat faster. He had studied human reactions to danger extensively. They were supposed to panic, scream, scatter, and cry. Yet deep down, he wondered, would these humans do the same? The surface came into view, a patchwork of green fields, metallic domes, and bustling small cities. Humans moved across the landscape like ants. From above, they appeared delicate, almost insignificant. Yet something about the movement caught Vrith's attention. It was purposeful. Each human seemed to know where to go, what to do, how to act in coordination with others. The observation files had not fully captured this. The shuttle landed gently in a clearing near one of the main colonies. Dust rose around the landing gears, and the small human crowd nearby froze for a moment, staring. Vrith could see the curiosity in their eyes, the way they tilted their heads, the way they whispered to one another. His species often mistook subtle observation for fear. Humans apparently were naturally curious. Vrith stepped out. The ground beneath him was uneven, a mix of soil and small rocks. The air was breathable, though tinged with chemical smells that humans did not notice. For Vrith, it was strange, almost irritating, but manageable. He activated his personal observation field, a faint shimmer that allowed him to record data and protect himself from sudden threats. A human approached, a woman, tall by human standards, with short brown hair and a determined look. She carried tools in a small belt around her waist, something Vrith recognized immediately as engineering equipment. "Who are you?" she asked, voice calm but alert. Vrith hesitated. He had studied human communication extensively, but he had never responded directly. "I am Vrith," he said, testing his vocal patterns. "I am here to observe. I mean no harm." Her eyes narrowed slightly. Then surprisingly, she smiled. "Observation, huh? Well, we could always use more help, even if it's unusual help." She motioned for him to follow her. Vrith followed, noting how humans moved with efficiency and purpose. Unlike his species, which relied on precise algorithms for every movement, humans improvised fluidly. They adjusted to obstacles instantly, solved problems on the fly. It was impressive. As they walked through the colony, Vrith noted the structures: dome-shaped habitats, energy fields protecting crops, communal areas where humans gathered for food and conversation. Everything seemed fragile, but everything also seemed perfectly functional. Suddenly, the ground trembled. A low rumble grew louder, and the sky darkened with swirling clouds. Vrith immediately activated emergency shields around himself. The human woman grabbed his arm. "Come on, we need to get to the central shelter," she shouted. Vrith followed, though his analytical mind was racing. The data indicated no significant seismic activity in this area, yet the tremors were real. Buildings shook, dust fell from the ceilings, and small fires ignited in broken energy lines. Humans ran, not in panic but in organized chaos. Teams helped one another, moving quickly to ensure safety. Vrith realized he had underestimated them. Humans were not fragile in the way his species thought. They were adaptable, responsive, and unafraid of danger, even danger that could have killed them instantly. They reached a large dome, reinforced with energy shields and structural supports. Humans inside were helping the injured, moving supplies and directing others to safety. Vrith stood silently observing, learning. And then he realized something. In this chaos, humans were not just surviving, they were thriving. Their fear did not paralyze them. It motivated them. He followed the woman to a corner of the dome. "I'm Rena," she said. "I lead the emergency response here. You might be useful. If you know anything about stabilizing energy lines, you can help us." Vrith hesitated. He had been trained to observe, not participate. Yet the thought of standing aside while these humans risked everything, it was almost unbearable. And strangely, he felt something unfamiliar, a desire to belong, to help, to survive alongside them. "I can assist," he said. Rena nodded. "Good. Follow me and stay close." Together they moved through the chaos. Vrith realized humans communicated with actions and words simultaneously. A gesture, a shout, a tool handed over at the right moment, all of it contributed to the efficiency of their response. His species relied on precision and protocol, but humans relied on creativity and instinct, and it worked. Hours passed. The tremors subsided, leaving behind damage and debris, but the colony remained intact. Humans had saved lives, repaired critical systems, and maintained order. Vrith had assisted where he could, his knowledge of structural energy fields proving unexpectedly useful. As the dust settled, he stood outside the dome, looking at the humans moving calmly among the wreckage. He felt a strange respect, the kind he had never felt for any species. Humans were remarkable. Fragile, perhaps, in body, but in mind and spirit they were incredibly strong. Rena approached him, wiping sweat from her brow. "You did well today," she said. "Most observers would have panicked or stayed hidden. You didn't. Thank you." Vrith felt a flicker of something he could not name. Gratitude, pride, perhaps both. For the first time he wondered if his mission, simple observation, was not enough. Perhaps humans deserved more than distant scrutiny. Perhaps they deserved trust. And as night fell over Nerva 3, Vrith made a decision. He would continue observing, yes, but not as a detached scientist. He would learn from them. He would survive with them. And he would discover what it truly meant to be human. Little did he know the challenges were only beginning. Nerva 3 was just the start, and humans had ways of surprising even the most advanced minds. The morning on Nerva 3 began with a calm that seemed almost impossible after the chaos of the previous day. The human colony, though damaged, was alive with energy. Fires had been extinguished, shelters reinforced, and injured humans treated with careful hands. Vrith watched quietly from the edge of the main dome. He had spent the night observing humans, silently analyzing their patterns of movement, communication, and resilience. Humans slept lightly, in shifts. Even in rest, some maintained vigilance, guarding the perimeter, monitoring energy fields and checking systems. Vrith had never seen a species capable of this balance of rest and alertness. His own kind would have considered it inefficient. Yet it worked for humans. Rena found him standing outside, arms crossed. "You stayed up all night again?" she asked, her tone half amused, half concerned. "I observed," Vrith replied. I need to understand how humans operate. She shook her head. Observation is one thing. Living with us is another. You'll burn out if you don't rest. Vrith considered her words. Perhaps she was right. But observation, analysis, and survival were intertwined. He had learned yesterday that human strength was not in their technology or their size. It was in their adaptability, their quick thinking, and their courage under pressure. He needed to see more. The colony was already buzzing with activity. Humans moved through repaired streets carrying tools, supplies, and equipment. Children, curious and fearless, ran about, sometimes following adults to learn, sometimes exploring on their own. Vrith observed a small group of them attempting to repair a collapsed energy conduit. They argued in a lively but organized manner, quickly dividing tasks, improvising solutions, and checking one another's work. Impressive, isn't it? Rena said, appearing beside him. Yes, Vrith admitted. They are efficient in ways my records did not anticipate. Rena smiled. Efficiency is not everything. Humans survive because we adapt, because we think quickly when things go wrong, and because we don't give up. That is what you need to understand if you want to live among us. Before Vrith could respond, the ground shook again. A subtle tremor at first, almost imperceptible. Then a low rumble grew, followed by a distant roar. Vrith's sensors detected an unusual energy signature approaching the colony. He scanned the skies. A small fleet of rogue ships unregistered by Federation records had appeared on the horizon. Aliens, Vrith muttered. Unauthorized vessels. They are moving toward the colony. Rena noticed his gaze. Looks like your observation will be more direct today. The humans quickly mobilized. Unlike the trembling and panic Vrith expected from his species, humans moved with purpose. They organized teams, communicated efficiently, and prepared defenses with remarkable speed. Makeshift barricades appeared, energy shields were recalibrated, and drones were dispatched to monitor the incoming fleet. Vrith felt a mix of awe and apprehension. His mission had been to observe humans, not to fight alongside them. Yet he could not simply stand aside while this fleet advanced. Come with me, Rena said. She led him to the command center, a dome filled with screens, energy panels, and human leaders coordinating defenses. Humans of all ages worked together, some monitoring sensors, others relaying messages, and a few preparing emergency evacuation plans. Vrith's mind whirled with data. Every action was calculated, yet fluid, almost chaotic to an outsider, yet perfectly effective. One human approached him, holding a device he had not seen before. Vrith, if you can help stabilize these shields, we can hold them off longer. Vrith took the device and studied it. It was simple in human terms, yet brilliantly designed for quick repairs. He manipulated it carefully, using his alien knowledge of energy fields to enhance its efficiency. The shields flickered, stabilized, and expanded in moments. Rena watched him, nodding with approval. The rogue fleet approached closer, firing energy blasts that struck the colony's outskirts. Buildings shook and alarms blared. Humans ducked, dodged, and coordinated countermeasures. Vrith realized they had anticipated attacks of this type, perhaps not in the exact manner, but enough to protect lives. A loud crash echoed nearby. Vrith and Rena rushed to the source, a partially collapsed dome. Inside, a small group of children was trapped. Humans nearby tried to move debris manually, but the structure was too heavy. Vrith activated his observation field and used it to lift sections of the dome carefully. With combined effort, the humans and Vrith freed the children. One child, a boy with bright eyes, looked at Vrith and said, "Thanks for saving me." Vrith froze. No training, no observation manual had prepared him for this. Gratitude, and perhaps trust. Humans had the power to evoke emotions, to create connections even with a stranger. The battle escalated. The rogue fleet fired relentlessly, but humans adapted. They redirected energy from one shield to another, used terrain to their advantage, and deployed small drones that harassed the alien ship's sensors. Vrith could not help but be impressed. These humans were not warriors by nature, yet their ingenuity made them formidable. He noticed how humans communicated silently through gestures, eye contact, and subtle movements. A nod here, a hand signal there. Complex instructions conveyed in a fraction of a second. Vrith's species relied on vocal or telepathic signals for coordination, but humans had mastered nonverbal communication in ways he had not expected. Hours passed. The rogue fleet was held at bay, but Vrith realized they would not give up. He approached Rena. They will continue. We must prepare for prolonged engagement. Humans, you are remarkably resilient. Rena smiled faintly. Resilience is survival. It's what we do when the odds are against us. You're beginning to understand. Vrith nodded, though he felt an unfamiliar tension. Survival, he realized, was not simply physical. It required creativity, adaptability, and trust. Humans possessed all three in abundance. As the sun set, the alien fleet retreated slightly, regrouping for a second wave. Humans used the brief lull to reinforce defenses, treat the injured, and plan countermeasures. Vrith stayed close to Rena, learning from her decisions, absorbing her strategies, and marveling at the humans' ability to remain calm under pressure. That night, in the central dome, Vrith observed humans in a new light. They laughed quietly, shared food, and tended to one another. Despite the constant threat, they maintained their spirit. They were fragile in body, perhaps, but in mind and heart. They were strong beyond measure. Vrith realized something important. He had been sent to observe humans as specimens, to record their weaknesses and flaws. But he had discovered a different truth. Humans survived not despite challenges, but because of them. Challenges brought out their ingenuity, their courage, and their unity. And somehow, Vrith knew, he had survived the first day only because humans had chosen to act, to trust, and to fight. Late that night, he found himself standing outside the dome, staring at the alien stars. The rogue fleet was still visible, distant but ominous, and yet he felt no fear, not the paralyzing fear he had expected. He had humans beside him. He had seen their strength, their determination, their willingness to fight for each other. And for the first time, he considered that humans might be more than just subjects of observation. Rena appeared beside him, quietly. "You're thinking too much again," she said lightly. Vrith allowed a small smile. "Perhaps, but I am learning," she nodded. "Good. You'll need all you can learn. Tomorrow will be harder." Vrith's three eyes scanned the horizon, the rogue fleet, the fragile colony, and the humans working tirelessly to survive. All of it formed a picture of resilience, determination, and unexpected strength. He realized his life had changed. No longer was he a detached observer. He was part of this story, and his survival was linked to the humans' ingenuity and courage. For the first time, Vrith felt a spark of hope. The humans were not just subjects, they were allies, teachers, and perhaps in time, friends. And tomorrow, he knew, would test that bond even further. As Nerva 3's twin moons rose over the horizon, casting silvery light on the repaired domes and busy humans, Vrith made a silent promise. He would survive not just through his skills, but through the humans who had shown him a new way of being, resourceful, resilient, and endlessly surprising. He had come to observe humans. Instead, he had found the key to his own survival. The morning sun cast a pale light over Nerva 3, glinting off the domes and metallic surfaces of the human colony. After the previous day's chaos, the humans were quiet but alert. There was no laughter this morning, no casual movements. Instead, humans moved with purpose, checking energy fields, coordinating teams, and preparing defenses. Vrith observed them from the edge of the central dome, his three eyes scanning every detail. He had spent the night reviewing data, analyzing human behaviors, and reflecting on the first contact with the rogue fleet. He had expected fear, disorder, and panic. Instead, he had found efficiency, ingenuity, and calm determination. Humans were unpredictable in ways that made them dangerous, even to a species like his own. Suddenly, a bright flash appeared on the horizon. Vrith's sensors immediately detected it, a large fleet of alien ships much larger than the scouting vessels from yesterday. These were warships, heavily armed and moving in coordinated formations. "They are back," Vrith said, his voice low. "And they mean to destroy the colony." Rena, already surveying the approaching ships from the command center, did not flinch. "Then we'll show them why they shouldn't underestimate us," she said. Her tone carried a calm certainty that surprised Vrith. Humans were not naturally soldiers, yet she spoke as though victory was not impossible. The humans mobilized quickly. Small energy shields were reinforced around key structures. Drones took flight, some designed to distract, others to repair damaged systems. Civilians were moved into the safest areas, and escape routes were marked clearly. Every action was coordinated yet flexible, adaptable to unexpected circumstances. Vrith realized he had underestimated them again. Humans did not rely solely on brute strength. They relied on strategy, observation, and improvisation, and they trusted one another completely. The rogue fleet fired the first volleys. Energy beams cut through the sky, striking the outer domes. The shields absorbed most of the impact, but the vibrations shook the ground. Humans moved quickly, adjusting the shields, repairing weak points, and even using the terrain to their advantage. Vrith joined a small team tasked with stabilizing one of the energy conduits feeding power to the shields. He moved carefully, combining his alien knowledge of energy fields with the humans' simple, practical tools. Together, they repaired damaged sections, reinforced weak points, and even improved the shield's efficiency in ways that surprised Vrith. One human, a man named Jarek, shouted over the roar of battle, "We can't hold them forever. We need to slow them down." Rena turned to Vrith. "You understand energy flows better than any of us. Can you create a temporary overload to push them back?" Vrith considered the risk. Such a maneuver could damage the colony if miscalculated, but he also understood that survival required action, not hesitation. "I can," he said. Working quickly, Vrith manipulated the conduit, redirecting energy to create a controlled surge. A bright pulse shot toward the fleet, disabling sensors on several ships. The humans cheered even as the battle raged on. For a brief moment, the colony had an advantage, but the alien fleet was not defeated. They regrouped, firing again, this time with more precision. Buildings shook and alarms blared. Humans responded immediately, using small squads to repair damage, redirect energy, and protect civilians. Vrith realized that humans excelled not because they were stronger or faster, but because they adapted faster than anyone else he had seen. In the chaos, Vrith noticed a group of children trapped in a partially destroyed shelter. Without thinking, he activated his personal shields and rushed to them. Humans nearby joined him, moving debris and guiding the children to safety. One boy clutched Vrith's arm, eyes wide. "Thank you," he whispered. Vrith felt a strange warmth, an unfamiliar emotion. Gratitude, perhaps, or something deeper. Humans had a way of inspiring loyalty, even from outsiders. He had come to observe them. Instead, they were teaching him how to survive. The battle continued for hours. The rogue fleet was relentless, but humans remained calm, coordinated, and creative. They used terrain, energy fields, and improvised devices to slow the attackers. Drones created false targets, traps were set, and humans moved in patterns that Vrith could not fully predict. At one point, Vrith was assigned to a small team tasked with repairing the main energy relay, a vital structure that powered the colony's defenses. As they worked, a massive energy blast struck nearby, throwing debris in all directions. Humans reacted instantly, shielding one another, moving with precise timing and coordination. Vrith realized that humans had a form of instinctive teamwork that no algorithm could replicate. "Watch your step," Rena shouted, pulling him out of the path of falling debris. He nodded, silently acknowledging that he had much to learn from them. Humans survived because they trusted each other, adapted constantly, and never gave up, even when the odds were impossible. As night fell, the battle did not end. The rogue fleet continued to harass the colony, but humans had learned to anticipate their movements. They set traps, redirected energy flows, and used environmental hazards to their advantage. Vrith watched as humans led the attackers into narrow passes, where energy blasts ricocheted harmlessly, and improvised barriers delayed the fleet's advance. In the midst of the chaos, Vrith observed the humans' ability to inspire each other. Leaders gave clear instructions, workers responded without hesitation, and even children contributed by alerting adults or carrying small tools. There was no panic, no despair, only coordinated effort and determination. Vrith had been trained to analyze weakness. He had expected humans to falter under pressure, yet they did not. They were fragile in body, yes, but their minds and spirits were unbreakable. They survived because they were unpredictable, creative, and willing to take risks. At one point, the rogue fleet attempted a direct strike on the central dome. Humans reacted instantly, diverting energy, activating shields, and using drones to interfere with the attack. Vrith joined a group rerouting power, working alongside humans who shouted instructions, passed tools, and corrected errors in real time. Together, they saved the central dome from destruction. Rena looked at him, her eyes calm but intense. "You see now, don't you? Humans survive because we act, we think, and we adapt. Not because we are perfect, but because we refuse to give up." Vrith nodded. "I see it clearly now. They are remarkable." The battle reached its peak as the rogue fleet concentrated their attacks on the colony's main energy hub. Humans responded with ingenuity, redirecting energy, setting traps, and even using the environment against the attackers. Rocks were levitated with energy manipulators to block fire, and improvised barriers absorbed blasts. Vrith worked tirelessly, combining his knowledge with theirs to stabilize critical systems. Hours turned into a long night of continuous conflict. Vrith, exhausted but alert, realized something profound. Humans were not just survivors, they were teachers. They had shown him that intelligence, adaptability, and courage could overcome raw power. They had shown him that survival depended on creativity, not just strength. As dawn approached, the rogue fleet began to retreat. They had underestimated the humans' ingenuity and coordination. The colony had survived, though damaged, and the humans were still alive, still working, still ready to face another challenge. Vrith stood among them, watching humans move with quiet determination. He felt a deep respect, almost reverence. He had been sent to observe humans as a specimen, a study in fragility. Instead, he had learned from them, survived with them, and realized that humans were stronger than any report could convey. Rena approached him, handing him a small drink. "You did well," she said softly. "Most outsiders would have run or frozen. You helped. You survived, and you learned something valuable." Vrith accepted the drink, his eyes scanning the horizon. "I have learned more than I anticipated. Humans are unpredictable, adaptive, courageous, and I would not have survived without them." Rena smiled. "Then you understand now. Humans survive because we trust, we adapt, and we fight. We may not be perfect, but we never give up." Vrith nodded. He felt a strange sense of belonging, an unfamiliar but welcome connection. For the first time, he realized that observation alone was not enough. To truly understand humans, he needed to live with them, fight alongside them, and learn from their courage and ingenuity. As the first rays of sun broke over Nerva 3, casting light on the damaged but resilient colony, Vrith made a silent promise. He would continue to observe, yes, but he would also protect, support, and survive with these humans who had taught him the meaning of resilience. He had been sent to study humans. Instead, they had taught him how to survive and perhaps, in time, how to become a part of something greater than himself. The rogue fleet had tested the humans, and the humans had responded with brilliance, adaptability, and courage. Vrith knew that the real test was not over. More challenges would come, more threats would appear, but now he was ready. Not as an observer, not as a stranger, but as a participant in the human struggle, and perhaps as their ally. For the first time, Vrith felt a spark of hope that went beyond survival. Humans had shown him that even the most fragile beings could endure, adapt, and overcome, and he was determined to endure with them, no matter what came next. The colony on Nerva 3 was quiet, but tension lingered like a shadow over the domes. The rogue fleet had retreated, but the humans knew it was only a temporary pause. Vrith observed the humans closely, noting how they repaired damaged energy fields, reinforced shelters, and organized teams for the next confrontation. There was no fear in their actions, only focus, determination, and a calm readiness that fascinated him. Rena walked beside him as they surveyed the main energy hub. "They'll be back," she said, "and when they come, we need to be ready for more than just defense. We need strategy, improvisation, and speed. Are you ready to learn more?" Vrith nodded. "I am ready." The humans began organizing training sessions. They moved quickly, explaining techniques, showing improvisation methods, and demonstrating how even simple tools could be used in creative ways to improve defenses. Vrith followed closely, absorbing every detail. His analytical mind compared their methods to the rigid protocols of his own species, and he marveled at how humans adapted rules to fit circumstances. The first session focused on energy manipulation. Humans had basic technology compared to his own, but they could combine devices and environmental features in ways that created surprising effects. Vrith learned to redirect small energy pulses through improvised conduits, using the terrain and reflective surfaces to confuse enemy sensors. Humans demonstrated their techniques in real-time simulations, and Vrith adapted quickly, adding small improvements that the humans immediately incorporated. "You see," Rena said as they watched a simulation of an attack, "it's not just power or precision, it's how you use what you have." Adaptation is our greatest strength. Next came teamwork exercises. Humans paired up to simulate rapid repairs, moving through simulated hazards while communicating with gestures and brief instructions. Vrith noticed the instinctive coordination among team members. They anticipated each other's moves, corrected mistakes before they became problems, and used subtle signals to maintain synchronization. His species had strict hierarchies and protocols for teamwork, but humans relied on instinct, trust, and adaptability. Watch carefully, Rena advised. Humans don't just follow orders, they think, improvise, and respond instantly. That's why we survive. Vrith practiced alongside them, initially clumsy with the human style of improvisation, yet each mistake was corrected gently. Each adjustment immediately tested and refined. By the end of the day, Vrith had learned more than any report or simulation could teach him. Humans were not only resilient, they were constantly learning, constantly improving. The afternoon brought a new challenge. Scouts reported that a small squadron of rogue ships had returned, testing the colony's perimeter defenses. Humans did not panic. Instead, they immediately implemented what they had practiced. Vrith joined a defensive team tasked with protecting the energy relays. As the enemy ships approached, humans redirected energy flows, moved barriers into optimal positions, and set traps that made full use of the terrain. Vrith applied his knowledge of energy fields, creating temporary surges that disabled enemy sensors. Humans modified his techniques on the fly, adding small improvements that made the defense even more effective. "See how they adapt?" Rena said, pointing to a young engineer. "Even with my instructions, she finds a better way to do it." Humans always find a better way. Vrith watched, fascinated. The rogue ships fired, but the humans' defenses worked perfectly. Energy blasts were absorbed, deflected, or diverted, and the attackers were forced to retreat. The humans cheered, not with arrogance, but with quiet satisfaction. They had survived again, improved again, and learned again. Night fell, but the colony remained vigilant. Humans set watches, repaired minor damage, and discussed strategy for the next attack. Vrith stayed in the command dome, analyzing human methods, noting their improvisations, and learning how they combined observation, instinct, and quick decision-making. Rena approached him with a tablet showing energy flow simulations. "You're learning quickly," she said, "but the real test is coming. They'll try a full assault soon. We need to be ready to fight and survive together." Vrith nodded. "I understand. Humans' strength lies in their unpredictability and adaptability. I must integrate fully if I am to survive." Over the next hours, Vrith trained with the humans in multiple areas. They taught him rapid repairs, makeshift weapons, and defensive maneuvers. Each lesson emphasized improvisation. Humans did not rely on brute force. They used the environment, technology, and creative thinking to overcome stronger foes. Vrith also learned human communication. Gestures, eye contact, and brief signals conveyed complex instructions instantly. He practiced silently coordinating with human teams, eventually matching their speed and accuracy. He realized that humans' ability to predict, respond, and improvise in real time was a skill no rigid algorithm could replicate. Late into the night, Vrith and Rena reviewed the plans for the next attack. Maps, energy flows, terrain features, and predicted enemy movements were all analyzed. Humans discussed strategies openly, questioning and improving each plan until it became a flexible framework ready for rapid adaptation. Vrith understood why humans had survived against far superior forces before. Their strength was not in weapons or size, it was in learning, adapting, and using every available resource creatively. The next morning, scouts reported that the rogue fleet was approaching in full force. This time they were larger, faster, and better organized. Humans did not hesitate. They deployed energy barriers, drones, and improvised traps while maintaining clear communication across the colony. Vrith, fully integrated into the human teams, moved through the defenses with precision and speed, applying every lesson he had learned. The battle began. Energy beams sliced through the skies, hitting shields and deflecting off improvised barriers. Humans moved with calculated urgency, repairing, redirecting, and adapting in real time. Vrith worked alongside them, combining his alien knowledge with their improvisation. Together, they created unpredictable defenses that frustrated the enemy fleet. One human engineer shouted, "Vrith, over here!" Use the terrain to amplify the energy pulse. Vrith quickly adjusted his energy field, redirecting a blast toward the enemy. The pulse caused multiple ships to falter, and humans cheered as the attackers were forced to retreat temporarily. Rena clapped his shoulder. See, you're learning to think like a human. Adaptation is survival. The rogue fleet launched another attack, this time targeting civilians. Humans responded instantly, evacuating the area, setting decoys, and creating improvised shields. Vrith realized that humans did not separate survival and defense. They were interconnected. Protecting one another was as important as defending structures. Hours of continuous battle followed. Vrith moved seamlessly with human squads, anticipating actions, improvising solutions, and learning new techniques in real time. Humans communicated efficiently, adapted quickly, and never gave up. Each time the rogue fleet pressed, the humans responded with creativity, patience, and resilience. By evening, the rogue fleet had suffered significant losses. They were frustrated, unable to predict human responses and forced to retreat. Humans had survived again, not because of strength alone, but because of ingenuity, adaptability, and trust. Vrith stood among them, exhausted but alert. He realized that humans were not merely survivors, they were innovators under pressure. Their ability to learn, adapt, and act collectively made them stronger than any rigid, predictable enemy could handle. Rena approached him, smiling tiredly. You've seen it now. Humans survive because we adapt, because we think, and because we work together. You've learned well. Tomorrow the challenge will be even greater, but I have no doubt we'll meet it. Vrith nodded, feeling a sense of connection he had never experienced with any species. Humans had taught him more than survival. They had shown him a new way of thinking, a way of living and acting under pressure. They had demonstrated that strength came not from power, but from creativity, adaptability, and cooperation. As night fell over the colony, Vrith sat quietly, reflecting on the day. The humans moved around him, repairing, planning, and laughing quietly despite the dangers they had faced. He realized that he had not only survived with them, he had become part of their system, part of their strength. For the first time, Vrith understood the true power of humanity. They were unpredictable, resilient, and capable of incredible ingenuity, and he knew that surviving alongside them meant embracing those qualities himself. He had come to observe humans. Instead, they had taught him to adapt, to survive, and to trust. The rogue fleet would return, and the next battle would test them even further. But now, Vrith was ready, not just as an observer, but as a participant, a learner, and an ally. Humans had survived countless challenges before, and together they would survive the ones yet to come. And Vrith knew that whatever lay ahead, he would face it with them, learning, adapting, and enduring just as humans always did. The sky above Nerva 3 was streaked with pale light as the rogue fleet returned. This time, their numbers were far greater, their firepower stronger, and their movements more coordinated. The humans had anticipated this. Every dome, every structure, every energy field had been reinforced, and the colony buzzed with the quiet determination of beings who had faced overwhelming odds before. Vrith stood in the command center, observing the incoming ships. His 3 eyes scanned the fleet, analyzing energy signatures, movement patterns, and weapon trajectories. He had trained with the humans, learned their improvisation, and understood their methods. But he also knew that sheer numbers and firepower could overwhelm even the most ingenious defenses. Rena approached him, her expression calm but serious. "This is it," she said. "We either survive together or we fail together. Are you ready?" Vrith nodded. "I am ready. I have learned much, and now I will act with you." The humans deployed immediately. Energy shields flared to life around the main domes. Drones flew in patterns designed to confuse sensors. Makeshift traps were positioned in strategic locations, using terrain features to amplify their effects. Civilians were moved to safe zones, guided by volunteers who had trained for hours in evacuation and protection. Vrith joined a small squad tasked with protecting one of the outer energy relays. He had worked alongside these humans before, but now he was part of the plan, fully integrated. Every action required coordination, improvisation, and trust. The first wave of attacks came swiftly. Energy beams lashed out, striking shields, barriers, and terrain. Humans responded instantly, diverting power, repairing weak points, and using environmental features to their advantage. Vrith redirected energy pulses, enhancing shields in ways the humans had never attempted before. The combination of human ingenuity and alien technology created defenses stronger than anything the rogue fleet expected. Small squads of humans moved through the battlefield, repairing, reinforcing, and countering attacks. One group, led by Rena, used the terrain to their advantage, leading enemy ships into narrow passes where energy blasts ricocheted harmlessly. Drones created decoys while humans deployed improvised pulse devices to interfere with sensors. Vrith realized something profound. Humans did not rely solely on power or technology. They relied on creativity, observation, and adaptability. Every mistake was corrected in real time. Every attack anticipated, every plan flexible. A massive energy blast struck near Vrith's position, throwing debris into the air. Humans immediately reacted, shielding each other, securing civilians, and repairing the damage. Vrith worked with them, using his alien knowledge to stabilize critical systems and enhance improvised defenses. "Vrith," shouted a human engineer, "we need an overload to disrupt their sensors." Vrith nodded. He calculated the risks quickly, then redirected energy from multiple conduits to create a controlled surge. The pulse shot toward the rogue fleet, causing several ships to falter. Humans cheered, moving quickly to exploit the momentary advantage. The rogue fleet responded aggressively, targeting humans directly. But humans had anticipated this. Civilians were protected, drones created distractions, and energy fields were redirected dynamically. Vrith watched in awe as humans combined strategy, improvisation, and courage to hold their ground. Hours passed. The battle raged without pause. Vrith moved with human squads, repairing, redirecting energy, and assisting in traps and defenses. Humans communicated silently, using gestures, eye contact, and brief signals to coordinate actions. Vrith mirrored their methods, anticipating moves and acting in unison with them. In the midst of the chaos, Vrith noticed a young boy trying to help carry tools to a damaged shield. He rushed over, guiding the child to safety, while the boy's eyes sparkled with determination. Even the youngest humans contributed, understanding that survival depended on everyone acting together. Rena approached Vrith during a brief lull. "They underestimated us," she said. "They think strength alone will win. But humans survive because we adapt, because we create, and because we trust each other. You've seen it, haven't you?" Vrith nodded, his mind racing with admiration. "Yes. Humans survive not because of strength, but because of ingenuity, cooperation, and courage. I would not have survived without them." The rogue fleet launched a final concentrated strike on the central dome. Humans moved swiftly, diverting energy, reinforcing shields, and setting improvised barriers. Vrith activated his energy manipulations, creating pulses that disrupted the enemy sensors and weapons. Humans immediately adapted, using the openings to counterattack. Explosions shook the area, debris flew, and energy beams lit the sky. Yet the humans remained composed, moving with purpose and coordination. Vrith worked tirelessly alongside them, repairing, enhancing, and directing energy flows in ways that maximized their defenses. The battle reached its climax as humans executed a coordinated counterattack. Small squads used improvised pulse devices to disable ships, energy surges disrupted enemy systems, and the terrain was used to funnel attackers into traps. Vrith marveled at the creativity and bravery of the humans around him. At one point, he saw Rena leap onto a damaged drone, redirecting it into the path of an attacking ship, causing it to crash spectacularly. Humans cheered, but they did not stop. They continued to repair, adapt, and fight. Vrith realized that the humans' greatest strength was not just their skill, but their spirit. They never gave up, even when the odds were impossible. They adapted instantly, learned from every action, and worked together seamlessly. He understood now why humans had survived countless challenges across their history. Their survival depended on creativity, courage, and unity. Finally, the rogue fleet began to retreat. They had underestimated the humans' ingenuity, adaptability, and teamwork. Vrith and the humans watched as the last of the ships disappeared beyond the horizon. The colony had survived. The humans had survived. And Vrith, who had come to observe, had survived because of them. The humans began repairing damage, treating injuries, and restoring energy flows. There was no celebration of victory, only quiet satisfaction and continued focus. Vrith stood among them, exhausted but aware of a profound truth. Humans were not just survivors, they were remarkable. Rena approached him, handing him a small container of water. "You've done well," she said. "Most outsiders would have fled or frozen. You stayed, you acted, and you learned. And you survived." Vrith took the water, nodding silently. "I have learned more than I ever expected. Humans are unpredictable, courageous, and ingenious. I owe my life to them." She smiled faintly. "Good. That is the lesson we hope everyone learns. Humans survive because we adapt, because we create, and because we fight for each other. You've seen it firsthand." Vrith stood quietly, watching humans move through the colony, repairing, rebuilding, and caring for one another. He realized that he had been sent to observe humans as fragile subjects. Instead, they had taught him the meaning of survival, cooperation, and ingenuity. As the twin moons of Nerva III rose over the horizon, casting silver light over the repaired domes, Vrith felt a connection he had never experienced before. Humans had shown him not only how to survive, but also how to think, act, and trust. They had revealed the strength of spirit, creativity, and courage. Rena joined him in silence, watching the moons. "You've seen it now, haven't you?" she said softly. "Yes," Vrith replied. "Humans survive not because they are strong, but because they adapt, create, and trust. They are remarkable." She smiled, placing a hand on his shoulder. "And now you are part of that. You survived with us. You learned from us. You belong here." Vrith looked out at the humans repairing the colony, their determination unwavering, their courage shining even in exhaustion. He felt a deep respect, almost reverence. He had come to study humans as subjects. Instead, they had become his teachers, his allies, and the reason he had survived. The rogue fleet would return someday, he knew. Other challenges would come. But now he was ready. Not as a detached observer, not as a stranger, but as a participant in human ingenuity, resilience, and spirit. Together, they would face whatever came next. As dawn broke, Vrith made a silent promise. He would continue to survive with humans, learn from them, and fight alongside them. He had seen their strength, their courage, and their brilliance. He understood now that humans were not fragile. They were powerful in ways that few could predict. And as he stood on the repaired ground of Nerva III, watching humans prepare for the future, Vrith felt a spark of hope and belonging. He had been sent to observe humans. Instead, they had saved him, taught him, and welcomed him. In that moment, Vrith realized the ultimate truth. Humans survive because they adapt, because they innovate, and because they never give up. And he too would survive thanks to them. The galaxy might have underestimated humans, but Vrith knew the truth. Underestimated no more, humans stood ready, brilliant and unstoppable in their ingenuity and spirit. And Vrith was proud to fight and live among them now and forever.